Hey everyone, and welcome to a special off-season, preseason, pre-rookie draft note. As always, I'm your commish, aka the champ, aka Buzzsaw, aka 3 in a row. Can he do it? Joined by Joel Gibson. Joel, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing just peachy. A little tired. Having a newborn will do that to you, though. So, Joel, you and I were talking a little bit, and we weren't sure if we were going to do a note like this, but we do want to get the conversation started. I think that you and I can realistically go through and we're going to look at each team and we're going to try to give our input on teams, I guess. Just give some helpful information. It might help with trades and figuring out where you're going as you're drafting in the rookie draft. As always, you don't have to listen to us. You don't have to watch this video. If you've made it this far and you don't give a shit about what we have to say, you can probably skip towards the end because I am going to talk about free agency and stuff like that after we're done. Got to keep them hooked up. But outside of that, we just have a little preseason ranking. We're going to go through from team to team. Just some things of note, not necessarily like suggestions or anything like that, but just things that we look at. And hopefully it helps. Like I said, you can skip the whole way to the end if you want. I don't care, whatever. I'm still going to do this video, and I'm going to have fun doing it. With that being said, Joel Gibson, let's start off with Steven Thornhill's team. He comes in at number 12, pre-season ranking. Now, I've went through and I came across this table and I have this information and I sent it to you as well. I think it's helpful for people to have this kind of stuff. So, Steven has... Hold on one second here. Let me make sure it's up. One top 25 player. He has 2 top 50 players, and he has 6 top 100 players. Now, the reason why this is important is when you're comparing to other teams, if you just want to bracket them off straight based on average draft position, where your team's coming out when people are drafting them, it makes it a little bit more comparable and helps us, especially in a preseason ranking where we don't have stats or stuff like that. It gives us kind of a flat baseline number. So with that being said, we'll get right into Steven's team here. Steven's team's very young. He didn't do well last season. I believe he lost to Cody in the fight for the first round draft pick that Cody then traded to Kyle. So theoretically, there's a world that we're living in where Steven has Wemby and not Kyle.
I will say one thing for Steven's team. He came in under the cap.
He did come in under the cap when we drafted. And he does have the 4th round pick for this year's rookie draft. So, there's been a couple different names floating around and stuff like that. I'm interested to see who goes at 4. Because for me, 1 and 2 are kind of locked in. And I think they're going to be picked by Kyle, who has 1 and 2. So where 3 through 6 falls is extremely interesting to me. The 4 players that should be in there, at least in my opinion. There's one that might be a little overdrafted. There's one that is going to play right away. There's one that's going to have to fight for minutes. You can figure out which, and there's one that probably doesn't play in the top 6. It's really interesting because depending on where you are with your team, drafting these players and depending on their values, of course, will be interesting.
Yeah. I think the key player on Steven's team that I would lock into is, is DeMar DeRozan. He's 34 years old. He's like 10 years older than everyone else on the team. And if Steven is going to rebuild, I feel like that's a piece that he could move on from and a contending team could really use.
I agree. Again, with the cap, that's tough at $34 to find a space for him. But there are teams that do have spaces, and we'll say Steven has $15 in cap space. So he does have the workability to take on a little bit of cap as well, whether it's a 2-for-1 or something like that, where he gives DeRozan up for maybe two 20-ish value players, and that still gets it done. A player that I really like on Stevens' team and that I'm interested in is Quickly in New York. I think that he could either be, depending what the Knicks do, but I like Quickly in the fact that I think he's better than RJ Barrett. Now, RJ Barrett probably plays a little bit more of the 3, but with Dante DiVincenzo there as well, there's so many guards that are fighting for minutes. If Quickly can get a decent minute size, I think that he's going to be definitely beating that $1 value.
I think he beats that $1 value no matter what. It's just he could be like a top 60 player, or
right.
He could be a top 120 player.
Exactly, and that's why I think he's so interesting. He's just one of those that it's either going to be really good or really bad. And then at least early in the season, another player is Bane. Is Bane just going to take over Memphis offense, or is he going to kind of give way a little bit to Marcus Smart with Ja out? I wonder how that's going to work out. Can Bane keep up those shooting numbers season to season? He was electric last year in shooting. With Triple J there as well. It's going to be an interesting dynamic, but he is pretty young, 25, kind of right in the middle. 25 is a good age. I just wonder if those shooting percentages can stay where they were last season.
I really like Desmond Bane. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but I think Cole Anthony might be a problem for him, and is a pretty droppable player at $7, unfortunately.
If he's trying to get him up. And then last one I'll say is he loves the Orlando Magic. He also has Boncaro and Wendell Carter. So he is all in.
Bull's not on that team anymore.
Yeah, Bull left. Otherwise, he would have had another one. But he loves him some Orlando Magic. And I hate to say it, but that might reflect on where he is in the league right now, is the fact that he has a majority Orlando Magic players. I love Boncaro, though, as well. I think his percentages are a little rough. But when you have Trae Young on your team as well, I'm not really sure he cares too much about the percentages. That being said, I don't think he gets out of the bottom 4 this year, if I'm predicting. I think that if I were him, and I know I'm going to be in the bottom 4, I'm going to build, and I'm going to try to get the first-round draft pick. I'm going to stay at least well enough or good enough that I can fight in that consolation bracket tournament, get that number 1 pick, and as his younger team gets better, maybe trading DeRozan like we talked about, 2 to 3 years is my time frame where he can start competing and at least making it to the playoffs and growing from there.
I honestly can't believe how deep a dive we just did on the number 12 team.
Come on, we're only at 8.5 minutes. All right, next next team, we can cut a couple players out of our deep dive. Next team is a new team. It's Team Jake. Jake, welcome to the league. Unfortunately, you did a deal with the devil to start out as your first move. You traded with Joel Gibson. Joel, talk a little bit about your trade and tell us why you won that trade. Let's get it going.
All right, so before anything is, set in stone, I didn't necessarily win the trade. If you look at John Collins last year, he was atrocious. He was not even a top 100 player. It was rough. It was bad. But if you remember, 3 years ago, I think it was,
right?
I loved me some John Collins. I fucking kept John Collins one year. So Gordon Hayward looked like himself at the end of the year last year. He looked like a borderline all-star player, 20 points per game, just pouring them in. Looked great. I was ready to get off that time bomb, but there's a chance that maybe he has a good season this year. There's also the concern of what Brad Miller is now their new rookie that's playing the same position.
Right.
I'm just kind of ready to get off that, like I said, that time bomb. But he got a good player in Gabe Vincent, and Chris Middleton is a player that I would bet on. He's a top 50, top 40 player when he's really on.
Yeah.
And Collins there's a chance he's a top 40 player again, but I don't think he's going to be above that.
Right.
So I don't think it's necessarily a slam dunk, but I like what John Collins does for my team, and I think there's some upside, and he fits my timeline more.
Right.
So,
right. And how dare you with the Gabe Vincent thing? I will say this right now as a Heat fan. I think that him getting traded to the Lakers is going to severely cut down his value. And a lot of people don't like that, but I am telling you right now, he's a shooter, and he went with the money. That's totally fine. But he was good because of the system he was in. He's going to be at least fourth, maybe fifth best option at absolute best, right? And where are these minutes coming from? Austin Reed's going to play a ton. Russell's going to play a ton. If you're saying he's going to be the six-man superhero, who's setting the screens to get him open? I don't know, and I wouldn't have taken that kind of gamble unless he re-signed with the Heat in the system he was in.
The trade happened while he was still on the Heat.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
$2 for a starting point guard in the league is worth a swing.
Yeah, swing and a miss. Swing and a miss, Jake. Now, the next one, he followed up that trade by making his second move with myself and Kyle. He was looking to get rid of LeBron. Kyle and I were more than willing to, facilitate this. Kyle ended up getting LeBron here. I got Simmons, and Jake got Ayton. I don't mind him giving up LeBron. I don't know when he's going to be done. Nobody knows when he's going to be done. He should definitely be more on a go-for-it, win-now team. That being said, I wonder if he could have got more if he had looked around than just Ayton at center. I don't know what the plan is with him in Phoenix, if they're going to trade him or whatever. But, hey, it was his decision. I like this trade a little bit more than I liked his trade with you, only because I'm not as big on Middleton. And, of course, hindsight's 20/20 with the Gabe Vincent thing.
DeAndre Ayton's an interesting piece. I think big men that provide automatic double-doubles or close to are super, super valuable in the league. And DeAndre Ayton's only, 24, 25 years old?
I thought he was 25. 25, yep.
So, I also don't mind him getting off LeBron.
And keep in mind that he got, as part of this deal, 2 first-round picks as well. He has the number 3 pick this year, which kind of sucks. In my opinion, for this draft, number 3 sucks just because you don't get that top tier. But I think we're going to learn a lot about Jake based on who he takes at 3. Like I was saying earlier, it's number 3 is not as easy on the surface, if you ask me this year. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. Next year, he has 3 first-round picks. I imagine his pick's going to be great. He has CJ's pick, and he has Kyle's pick. CJ likely is going to be pretty good this year. Kyle, we'll see. I think a lot of it's going to come down to whether or not Dame gets traded, and we'll get into him in just a minute. Last thing on him is he's still $2 over the cap, so still a little bit of work to do. But there's value on here that he could just cut and then not even worry about the cap. I guess Killian Hayes, you don't need to house him at $3. You don't need to. I'm telling you, Cade is going to murder that whole backcourt anyway. At $3, I'd rather just cycle in that Cade or in the Killian spot, not in the Cade spot.
My closing thoughts on Jake's team. I fucking love Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
So I mean, Anthony Edwards and OG Anunoby with Marcus Smart. That's a pretty fun defensive front court. But I actually this season kind of like some of his end of roster guys a lot more than I would have last year. Like Obi Toppin and Grant Williams are actually both going to probably see 30 minutes a night this year, and they're only $5 and $9.
Right.
So he has a couple of value guys on there.
Right, and then the last thing here is he has one top 25, he has 3 top 50, and he has 8 top 100. So not bad on the top 100 aspect. That indicates growing and stuff like that. So, that's kind of why we put him so low, is just the low top tier players at the moment. Hey, that one was only 7 minutes, Joel Gibson. We are cutting down time. Next one is Kyle. Kyle is at 10. Obviously, he has the first and second pick this year. Currently, he has 1 top 25 player, 2 top 50 players, and 4 the lowest top 100 players. So that explains why he's this low. We can imagine Wemby's going to be a top 50 for sure. I would say I'd be shocked if he finishes outside the top 50 unless they just are only playing the man 27 minutes a game and somehow he's just not getting it. Even if he does only play 27, the blocks are going to rise him up the ranks so quickly anyway. Scoot, the biggest thing for me on his team is definitely the Scoot question. Does Dame get traded, or does Scoot have to play even off ball behind Lillard? Are they going to experiment that way? Are they going to rest Lillard? Is he going to have to deal with that? Because I think if Lillard goes, Scoot might also be a top 50 player, maybe even top 40 if he gets crazy. I don't know what they're going to do. They still have Anthony Simons there. That's his biggest question mark for me. He's got Kat. He's got Paul. He's got Beal. He's got LeBron. His team is interesting to me in the fact that he's kind of going win now and trying to fill in the rookies to fill in what he's going to do. But his bottom for me is hollow. It's very hollow. He does have a ton of cap space, but I imagine that cap's going to be taken up pretty quickly, if not all, by the Scoot and Wemby picks. So as far as maneuverability, I'm not sure how much he's going to have. And he also has Westbrook, by the way, for another oldie. I mean, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players 30 or older on this team, and he's also drafted 2 that are going to be super young. So a little confusion on Kyle's team, I think, especially if you feel that he's not going to be able to win this year. He's kind of 34, 38, and 38 are his 3 oldest. He's got to find something to do, and if he can't find value for these are real value traps in my opinion, especially coming up when he has Wemby and Scoot as they head for their prime.
Yeah, if I were him, I would find a direction and fucking lean into it. I wish we had come up with an average age per team. His would have been the fucking wildest.
Yeah, his is definitely up there. I know my average age. That doesn't really help anybody, though. That's something that I definitely look at. So maybe we'll mention that as we get into week 1 matchups when all the lineups are set and everything. Because it wouldn't be fair to do his average age right now. Because technically he doesn't have Wemby and Scoot, so I wouldn't count them. He'd be easily over 30 in age average.
There's this world, though, where Kyle's team is, surprisingly good if things were to just kind of go perfect for him.
Yeah.
if Steph Curry got injured and it was just Chris Paul's show, and then all of a sudden Quentin Grimes and Dante DiVincenzo were like the guards in New York, maybe he surprises us.
And Cade gets injured again, so Ivy is getting the ball all the time. I know a lot of people had interest, and there's a lot of interest surrounding Jordan Ivy. I'm not as pumped about him. I think that Cade is just going to be a value hog in Detroit. And they have 13 big men in Detroit. So is it just going to be Cade and Ivy and 13 big men? I think that's what we're looking at. All right. Next one, we are moving. That was 7 as well. So it looks like we're going to do about 7 minutes per team. Next one is Adam. Adam has, let's see here. He has 1 top 25. He has 5 top 50. And he has 6 top 100. Now, the reason why I have Adam this low, and we are at number 9 right now, just out of the playoffs, is mainly because I don't know what he's going to do with his team. He has $40-some in cap space, and while getting younger with the trade with me, I put you on the spot, I'll put myself on the spot. I think that I killed in that trade, at least for myself, wanting to win now. Now, he went younger with Walker Kessler. I loved Walker Kessler. I did not think going into this offseason that I would be trading him at $5. But I did. I got Bam and I got DeJounte Murray back. You know how much I love DeJounte Murray. I still believe in him despite his kind of offseason last year. We'll see how it goes next to Trey. But Adam definitely kind of weakened a little bit based on last year.
Yeah, so I actually have a take here, and I think that we should have put Kyle above him. But I think maybe the hardest part about his team is that he's built around Giannis, who is like not as good a fantasy player as he is a real life player.
Yeah. And then you add LaVine. See, here was the thing with the trade with him. I was happy to do it. For me, obviously. It also, the values, the trades on either side, make sense to me. I could make an argument on both sides of it. But for me, with his build, with Giannis, and now Kessler, and then you add LaVine, who is heavy on free throws, and a huge free throw percentage, and then you've got McCollum, who also might take a step back this year. It's almost like his team is fighting with itself, in my opinion.
Like I said, I think we should have put Kyle above him in retrospect.
All right, well then, you know what, Joel Gibson Live, here we go. Preseason rankings have changed. Kyle, congratulations, you are number 9 in our preseason rankings. Adam, after being in the championship, falls the whole way to 10. That is not good, and I don't feel great about it. I don't feel great about doing it to him. I mean, he's still got Fox. He's got upside. LaVine, Randall, if he can come back. Clarkson, who's still going to score a bunch. I think he's still going to win games. I just think at the end of the season, I don't know what he's going to do. Even if he gets to the 7 or 8, somebody in the 1 or 2 spot or 3 spot even, I think is just going to run over him because he's not going in one direction.
I just think that he has $31 tied up in Yusuf Nurkic and $24 tied up in CJ McCollum, and that's a big fucking bummer.
That's a big bummer. And those are the 2 players I would be targeting to get rid of if I were him.
Although you could also say that Julius Randle at $34 is kind of a bummer.
So you're saying he has a lot of dead money. And can you believe that we are saying that a person with $40-some in cap space still has a ton of dead money on his roster? Like, realistically, he probably has 70-some. cap space, depending on what he does. He has the 11th pick since he finished second last year. I don't know what he's going to find at the bottom there, but we'll see if he gets anything interesting around the turn. I just think that Adam might be in for a tough season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a tough turnaround.
A tough turnaround. Similar to what happened when Steven got second that one year. I think he got second, and then the following year he fell off pretty hard too. That being said, we'll get right into number 8. Starting the playoffs here, Joel Gibson. Number 8, we have Matt Hobert. Now, a lot of this has to do with Jaw being out for the first quarter of the year. He has $14 in cap space. He has the 8th pick for this year. As far as players go, he has 2 top 25. He has 4 top 50. And he has 6 top 100. So not as much as you'd think. Matt, I think, is, outside of CJ, might be the second highest top-heavy team in the whole league.
He also has 100% of the Clippers centers.
Yes, he does. But, I mean, this is an example, though, of a team that works well together, that's not fighting itself. You've got Lillard, Mitchell, Ja, Butler, Vooch. All of them are... And also he has $26 in Christian Wood. Before I go any further. That man's not even on a team yet, and I don't know if he signs in the NBA this year. So, theoretically, Matt has way more cap than he thinks he does. But I like Chuck Bassey. I
that one.
I traded him for a reason. But that's just a name that sticks out to me every time I scroll down there, because I just think of, like, what could have been if it wasn't Wemby. You know, if the Spurs would have got Scoot, Chuck Bassey would have been through the roof. Would have been an absolute light show next to Collins.
I was about to say, I think there's a big fella named Zach Collins that would get in the way no matter what.
Yeah, we'll see. But Matt's aging now. Matt's put himself on a time clock. He needs to get his bottom figured out. I don't think that he's...
Butler.
I know. I don't think that he is the 8 seed. I think that he's going to struggle without Ja at least to start the year. And 25 games is literally just under a third of the season. And especially because our league doesn't go the whole way to the end of the season, so you're not looking at the full 82 games anyway. He's probably out a third of the season. And that makes it tough. So his bottom's going to be interesting. I think he finishes better than 8, but with Ja there, I can't put him any higher.
Yeah. His guards are explosive. Lillard, Mitchell, and Ja, when they're all playing, that's a lot of fun. But I'm with you. I can't really put him higher as long as Ja is going to miss, 25?
25, yep. And then, like I said, it just goes back to being one of the top-heavy teams. You know, if you don't have one of your main pieces as a top-heavy team, it becomes so hard to compete with a more well-rounded team. Next one, we've got number 7. It's Doug. Now, Doug, what I found most interesting is the first thing I'm going to give to you here. Doug is tied for first with 3 top 25 players on his roster right now. There are only 2 managers in the league with 3 top 25 players. And Doug is one of them. He, on paper, is definitely looking a lot better. Now you get to top 50, he only has 2. So, you know, actually it should technically be 3 because he has 3 top 25. I was counting them as I went down the list. So I think that was a typo on my part. So he has 3 top 50 players and then 8 top 100 players. So 8 is right about in the middle as we're getting through here. Doug at 7. I do think he has upside. He might not finish at 7. But again, I just worry without that middle, that top 50 base, it's pretty low. And as you see, as we start going up, top 50, those numbers start getting a little bit higher. And having 3 is probably where his problem is.
Yeah, he's an interesting team. He's got 3 forwards that will really make or break his season. Robert Williams, who's like a top 25 player when he's healthy and playing almost 30 minutes a night. Scotty Barnes, is he going to be the point guard in Toronto now? And Mikhail Bridges, who was awesome last year.
Right.
But, does that guy have another level?
Yeah, and for me, I think that my question mark is Shea. He's getting drafted in top 5 in a lot of drafts this year. And there are places where he can fall off. There are places where he might drop down and be only top 10, top 12, the end of the first round kind of player rather than top 5. If that falls off, it might move him down. The Harden question in Philly with Maxey, like everybody said, if Harden was traded, it was about to be Maxey's time, That would have changed his team dynamic. He's got Miles Bridges, who I think has to serve a suspension before he plays. 10 games for Miles Bridges there. He's an interesting team. I just think he's not there yet. He's like in the middle trying to find the piece to move him up or trying to find the multiple pieces to move him up. He's got $11 in cap space and he's got the 5 pick. I'm very interested to see Doug's pick at 5. Again, I think there's 2 players that are value traps that are rated in the top 6. But if he gets the one that I would draft at 5, it's going to be a really good fit for his team. And in 2 to 3 years, again, I think we're going to be talking about him perhaps top 5.
It's possible. I think it really depends on the forwards that I mentioned, if he's going to get to the top 5 level. One thing that would concern me if I were him is the $17 of cap space that Malcolm Brogdon takes up.
Yep.
That's a lot of cap for a guy that just gets injured all the time. But he's got a really good team, and he's got upside to boot.
Right. Next one, number 6, is Phil. Phil, I believe, is going to compete this year. Number one thing that is on my list for Phil is you can go ahead and drop Ball at any time. Lonzo Ball at $4, even taking up on your IR. Man's probably not going to play again. Whoever traded him to you is an asshole. How dare you buy into that story? I would go ahead and just drop him. Now, that being said, he has the 9 and 10 pick this year. He's got $10 in cap. As far as team makeup goes, he has 2 top 25 players, 5 top 50 players, and 10 top 100 players. So we're starting to get into double digits here as we move up these last few teams of top 100 players. And this is what I talk about, the consistency in the middle and stuff like that. Even 5 top 50s is pretty good. Anthony Davis, if he can have another season where he lights it up, great. Okongwu at 18, that's still probably another year or 2 before he's worth that 18, but I think he's going to get there. So based on all of that, I think Phil, if Anthony Davis can hang on for 2 to 3 more years, he's going to have a real shot at a championship. Jaren Jackson being so young, we're going to get to see Porzingis in Boston, which is interesting to me. Does it cap him or does it unlock him? And of course, he has Luka on his team.
I think you also forgot to mention Chet. Chet?
Oh shit! I did skip Chet. Nice one.
Chet, Davis, Porzingis, and Jackson. I mean, this guy might just lap everyone in blocks. Like, it might not be worth going after blocks if this guy has everyone healthy. But fortunately, all of those guys are kind of injury risks.
Right, and that's just it. I love Phil's. He's got Luka, who is just solid as hell, right? And then he's got players where it's like, hey, if they're healthy, we're going to go. He's like the Clippers of our league, right? He has these players that get injured all the time, but if they're healthy, everybody keeps saying, they're the ones, they're the team to get it over. But, let me take that back. That was very insulting for me to say that he's the Clippers of our league, but it's similar. It's similar.
And the other spots that will make his team are he's got these two guards that I'm going to be watching with a lot of interest this year, Jordan Poole and Jalen Green. And those guys just have the greenest of lights. Like, those guys just got to make the shots.
Just
they're gonna
put them up. Yeah, they are going to take a lot of shots. They're going to take a lot of shots. So Phil, there's definite upside, and healthy, he is scary. He will be a competitive team this year. And let's not forget, even in the top 6, we're talking about matchups last year in the playoffs that were coming down to one category within 4 or 5 stats. Like, we're getting into, hey, in the right set of circumstances, you can win a championship.
For sure. And built around Luka Doncic, he's built for the long term.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of different things he can do. And some of those players he can always trade off for parts as well. A lot of maneuverability, at least for the next few years, for him to try to get something done. Next one is probably one of the younger teams in the league. He comes in at number 5. It's Cody. Now, Cody did trade away the number 1 pick this year. He has $5 in cap space. Now, his team makeup, he has 1 top 25 player, 6 top 50 players, and 11 top 100 players. He's the definition of a team that's growing. And quite honestly, looking down his team, he's not going to be bad. He's not going to be bad. You have your injury questions with like Green and Paul George. Paul George was great for me last year. But both of them 33, so that's kind of an interesting thing, especially with his timeline. But I love his guards. Brunson, Giddey,
Hield?
Yeah, he's going to end up dropping Hield. Hield's not worth $15. He's not going to... He might be on a team this year, but it'll be for $3, whoever wins the Hield lottery. Interesting for me is Schroeder in Toronto. I can't believe I'm saying this, but if Scotty Barnes is not like the point power forward, right? If you're just having Scotty Barnes bring it up, if he's not doing that, Schroeder's going to have some good value at $1.
For sure. I don't think he's necessarily a dynasty asset, but I think he's an asset this year.
Yeah.
The players that I got my eye on, obviously Jason Tatum, because I'm a Celtics fan. But these 3 players, Sengun, Claxton, and Mobley. Sengun feels like a dinosaur, kind of. It feels like he's kind of on the wrong team. It seems like Houston wants to run, and he's not really a runner. But I also really like him. Claxton at $2 is a really nice value, and he's definitely the best center in Brooklyn. And then you and I both love Mobley. We're going to see as much Mobley as we can this year, next year, as many years as possible.
Right. Yeah, we definitely love Mobley. That's really it. He also has Pirtle in Toronto as well. He has a lot of solid pieces, for sure. Again, another situation where he might just mess around and make a semifinal this year. We don't know. He was injured last year, and he didn't do poorly towards the end of the season. He easily beat Steven for the number 1 pick as well. He probably should have been a playoff team last year. So I'm very interested to see what he does. Top 5 team, not too bad for a rebuild.
Yeah, not bad for a rebuild at all. I think, again, Mobley is the big thing. If he jumps from like a what was he, a top 40 player last year?
Yeah, if he goes top 25, it becomes real interesting.
Yeah, we might all be fucked.
Right. All right, next one is the number one team from last year, at least regular season. Got y'all there. Got y'all. It's Neiman. Neiman has done this twice now where he just runs the regular season and then he collapsed. Everything came true. I still have to put him at number 4 here. He got rid of Dame.
He got Kevin Porter.
He got Kevin Porter Jr., so look out, everybody in the league. He got Kevin Porter Jr. at $21. He has the last pick in rookie draft. He has $10 in cap. Team makeup is 2 top 25, 4 top 50s, and 7 top 100s. So kind of low on that aspect. But when we looked at it in the overall scheme of things, putting the number one team after he got Keegan Murray to rebuild, he did get rid of Dame, but he still has Embiid, who's fantastic. Rozier isn't a ton of a drop-off, but with LaMelo, we don't know what he's going to be. Sabonis, Brown, they paid him, so they better play him. And Derek White, I'm very interested in. And, of course, Markkanen as well. He has some very solid pieces that have some good upside.
Yeah. He's also just got some of the most ornery players in the league, though. He's got Andrew Wiggins, Dylan Brooks, Terry Rozier, Kevin Porter Jr., and Colin Sexton. He's like the fucking Jailblazers, dude.
I know. It's really bad.
Plus, he's got $20 of Spencer Dinwiddie.
$20 of Spencer Dinwiddie and $21 of Hart. I don't think Hart gets there. I don't care what contract they signed there. He's got $41 in Spencer Dinwiddie and Josh Hart.
If we could translate that into like what an NBA contract actually was, people would be so fucking pissed off.
I know. That being said, top 4. Top 4. Congratulations, Neiman. Now, next one, I'm going to let you do a majority of the talking, so just let me get my ridiculous spiel out here. You have pick 7 this year. You have $12 in cap space. Your team makeup, you have 2 top 25 players. You have 6 top 50 players, and you have 11 top 100 players. That is quite the team makeup. There's only 2 teams that have a better position than you, at least just based on that. You're extremely young. Now, the only 2 things I have to say to you, and then I'll let you talk me out of them, is Kyrie and Zion. They're your 2 big question marks. I don't think there's anything else on your team that's really giving me cause. Oh, and of course the Piston big men that you're housing. Those are your 3 situations that you have to figure out or ride with. We'll see how it goes. Joel, go ahead. Tell us why you're the number 3 team.
Oh, dude, this team is beautiful. I want to start off just talking about Tyrese Halliburton at $28 fucking dollars. You guys all fucked up. He's going like top 3, top 5 in redraft leagues right now, motherfuckers. And this guy is only 23 years old. He's unbelievable. I told Brandon, he's got Steve Nash-like vision. He's fucking so good at such a good contract. I'm so fucking pumped to have him on my team. And guess what? Now I got his favorite guy to pass to, Miles Turner. It's going to be unbelievable watching Pacers games this year. I'm going to have an erection the whole time.
Okay.
But there are some guys to be concerned about. You're right. I have both of the Detroit centers, Wiseman and Duren. One of these guys is really going to fucking blow up. Or, best case scenario, one of them gets traded and they both blow up.
Or they both play 20 minutes a game and average 8 and 8.
Get that weak shit out of here. You're going to be fine. But it is confusing. I think a Pistons depth chart was released where it had Wiseman as a starting center.
Yeah.
Where it seems that almost anyone who follows or likes the Pistons wants Duran to be that guy, considering he's only 19 fucking years old.
It's Casey. What do you mean? And the answer to your question is very straightforward. Like, Casey's not going to play the younger guy. He's not going to do it.
But Wiseman's not that much older. Wiseman he's 22, but he's played what, like one more season?
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting. We'll see what happens. I have both of them at $1, so it's gonna be fine. The Kyrie Irving, you're right. He's a gamble, but there's a chance that he could be a top 10 player this year.
Yeah.
If he's really going for it. It's really him and Luka in Dallas this year.
Yeah.
Who?
No, I agree.
Else
The
is
crazy
gonna score on that team.
The crazy part about your two players, and I'll let you talk about Zion in a second, Kyrie and Zion, are they could both easily be top 20 players. Easily.
Oh, dude.
They could also
both be top 10 players.
They could also both end up on your IR at the end of the season when it's playoff time.
It's possible. It's possible. But some things. Zion is that other question mark. But when he plays, he's a top 10 asset. This guy is unfucking believable. I was following some Pelican stuff saying that this is the year where he's taking his diet seriously. He feels ashamed of how he's been acting, and he's going to put it all together and just be a monster. And of course I believe it. But there's a chance that I have 3 top 10 players this year with Halliburton, Zion, Kyrie Irving. They all could perform at a top 10 level. The other big question mark is John Collins for me. Can he get back in the top 20, or is he a top 70 player?
With Markin in there, he's not getting back to top 20. I'm putting it on the line right now.
We'll see.
Okay.
I do think there's a big bounce back coming for him, or at least I'm hoping. But the other player that I really love on this team is Darius Garland, who was another value pick. He's only 23 years old, and I got him for $32. He's so fun. And if Donovan Mitchell is moved, he and Mobley are that Cleveland team. I think he's at worst a second-round player this year. And there's lots of players on my team that could continue to get better, like Austin Reeves and Patrick Williams and Jalen Williams.
Right. And I would just push back a little bit on Garland. At worst, he's probably a third-round player. Top 36. Like, saying that at worst he's a top 24 player is kind of nuts. Because then you're saying,
Can I say top 30?
You can say top 30. I'll accept top 30 at worst. You're saying at worst. You're saying his floor is 24. Like, that's crazy.
All right, he's going to be a top 30 player.
Okay.
You're right. I got a little excited.
You did.
The last thing that I'll say about my team that makes me pretty excited is if you look at my roster, there is only one player over the age of 30. We are young and we are deep, son. We are going to fuck you up for years to come.
Glad to hear it. We'll see how long it takes for you to get your name back on this trophy. Hopefully it's long enough that I can just get above you. That's all I'm trying to do is just be the undisputed best champion in the league. Next team we're going to have is CJ Ross. Now, CJ Ross, we did this to ourselves last year. We put him the whole way up at the top, and we thought he was going to destroy things, and he ended up getting injured. Now, he doesn't have any draft picks. He has $12 of cap space, but he's also the second team that has 3 top 25 players right now. He also has 4 top 50s and 7 top 100s. Now, those two numbers are a little low, but this is exactly what I was talking about with him and Matt. The parallels are interesting. To me, CJ is like Super Matt, right? If healthy with this team, it is going to be very hard to compete with him. And if you told me at the end of the season, Steven was extremely healthy and or Steven, good Lord, CJ was extremely healthy and he won the championship, I would not doubt it whatsoever.
I'll say this. So CJ's team, those top guys, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry, they're unbelievable. And if they all play most of their games this year, he could fuck us up a little bit.
Yeah.
But the depth is a concern. He really needs to cycle well. Because past those four, he's got like $24 tied up in Mike Conley. Aaron Gordon is probably his next best player outside of those top four. Clint Capella, he's almost 30 years old. And we've seen multiple injuries from him a few seasons in a row now. So there's the chance that CJ just fucks this all up, or that he fucks it all up.
Right. I totally agree. For me, it's also interesting that he has $34 in Gobert. He has Isaiah Stewart at $1. I just like pointing that out because he still might be a better player than both of your Detroit players. It could be possible.
Disagree. Oh, God.
That being said, like we've been saying, it just comes down to health. Curry, Kawhi, KD, and Harden. They've all been a top 5 player in their past. I think those days are probably behind them, but all healthy, you might be talking about 4 top 15 players. You might. That's probably best case scenario for CJ, and if that's the case, it's going to be tough to beat him.
For sure. My probably favorite part that I want to touch on with CJ is he had Kawhi Leonard last year. He traded Kawhi Leonard away to Kyle.
Yeah.
Kyle, very shortly after, gives up on Kawhi Leonard, trades him to me. And you know what then happens?
You trade him back to CJ.
Traded back to CJ.
I want to see all those trades like lined up just to see like the value that was exchanged, just out of curiosity. All right, and then the number 1 team preseason rating is your boy, Mr. Modest. Now, that being said, let me just say this. It's not all sunshine and rainbows over here, okay? I've got 2 top 25 players. I've got 7 top 50 players. That's the most in the league. I've got 12 top 100 players. That's the most in the league. My team is extremely good. It's extremely good as constructed at the moment. That being said, I am so far over the cap that I am going to have to drop a player to get under the cap. Now, that'll take me down, likely a top 100 player, so likely there's a 3-way tie at 11 for best in the league. Should I choose to drop D'Lo? Might be an option. We don't know. He's very available. Then I can fill in with the rest. But I just want to point out the youth that I've acquired. My average age right now is 25 years old. 25. That means I will be able to run this team back for many, many years to come. Huge upside with Ben Simmons. That's my number 1 sticking point. I'm slowly watching that ADP, average draft position, creep up just a little higher. People are starting to believe a little bit. They said they're going to start him. So we're going to see how it goes. It could be good. It could be bad. If it's bad, I just drop him and then look at all this cap money I have. That being said, my core is incredible. Cade's back this year, who I won without last year. I've got Booker, DeJounte, Brandon Ingram. I mean, listen to these. The Joker. I've got Bam. I've got Hero. I've got Tyus Jones, who's now a starting point guard. Very interesting. And then I've got Freddie as well. Now, I don't have any picks. I'm going to have to do a lot of cycling, but that's kind of my game anyway. I think that I am going to win easily. That's it. I'm going for 3 in a row.
Well, obviously, we put you at number 1 for a reason. You're the reigning champ. I hate it. You've got Jokic, which is pretty much the undisputed number 1 pick in drafts for Dynasty or redrafts.
Yep.
He's unbelievable. He's so good. I think not having Paul George is going to hurt you. Like, I don't think DeJounte Murray makes up as much of Paul George as one would think. But I think Cade Cunningham just slides right into that role, unfortunately.
Yep.
But one thing that I would like to note is part of the reason why you and I are in the top 3 for this year is our depth and our age. I have 1 player over 30 years old, and you have 0 players over 30 years old.
Woo!
We are, so I would say 1 and 3 for this year in terms of ranks right now, and 1 and 2 in terms of ranks for Dynasty going forward.
Yeah.
We are going to continue to fuck you guys up for a long, long time.
You're absolutely right. Now, I will stop boasting about myself. We're almost in an hour, so we're going to wrap this up. I just want to say that free agency is going to start October 1st. Okay? It's a Sunday. That means Saturday night, everybody can start submitting claims September 30th, and then they will be processed the following day. As far as the draft goes, now I'd still like to get together sometime in September if we can work that out. But what I'm going to do this year is I'm going to do a slow offline draft where I'm just going to say, okay, Kyle, you're on the clock. Make your pick. I'll give you fair warning. You're going to have to make your pick within a reasonable amount of time. Because it's only 2 rounds, it'll be easy to go around to each team. And if they don't want to pick a player, which is totally your prerogative, then you don't have to. Okay, so I will get that figured out on Fantrax. But I'm thinking mid-September as far as to start the slow draft, just so we can get it done before free agency starts October 1st. So I'll have some more details on that. Like I said, that you can tell us all. You can tell Joel and I to go to hell. Don't listen to us. It's not like we have 10 championships between the 2 of us or anything. But I just want to say good luck, and hey, thank you, Joel, for taking an hour out for doing this. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. We're always here, and we will see you guys next note.
See you guys.